They come, they eat, they leave. That's our lot in life. It's not a lot, but it's our lot.
Hey, bro, how you doing?
Hey, sis, how's it going?
I watched A Bug's Life recently, and it got me thinking.
Okay, about what?
About how much of an underrated movie it is. I don't think people truly appreciated it enough.
Hey, I guess you have a point. When you watch people's best Pixar movies from least to greatest here on YouTube, A Bug's Life usually ends up on the lower end.
Usually ends up on the lower end, exactly.
Yep.
So, Tim, I want to see if we can convince our audience today to finally see A Bug's Life for the supreme movie it truly is.
And if you don't, I'll make you eat a cricket, better yet, a grasshopper.
Ugh. Now, Tim, that won't be needed. I'm convinced.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, to my audience, like I said before, I know what you're probably thinking. Classic info. A Bug's Life is just okay. And you know what? I get it. It's hardly ever mentioned, hardly ever referenced, hardly ever any cosplay amongst fans. And how often do you ever hear fans say, "When I go to Disneyland, I can't wait to get a picture with Flick or Princess Ada"? And well, to put it in so many words, A Bug's Life is just not popular. But it does leave one to ask the simple question, why? Well, let's go back, way back to 1998. This movie was Pixar's second three-dimensional animated feature film, coming off the huge success of Toy Story. That was released in 1995. The buzz was certainly buzzing.
Didn't it gross approximately $33.3 million on its opening weekend or something like that?
That's right, Cookie. And it ranked at the box office at number 1. And with a budget of $120 million. And altogether, they were able to gross $363.3 million worldwide.
Which is, of course, not the highest gross of the Pixar films, but it did well for its time.
Exactly. So what gives? Of course, art is completely subjective, and, well, people simply like what they like, and that's okay. Now, I don't necessarily want to change your opinion about the movie, and I'm certainly not trying to start a Justice for a Bug's Life campaign here. I just like to offer a bit more insight as to why I feel A Bug's Life actually is one of the stronger stories of Pixar. Well, to put it mildly, here's why A Bug's Life should be more appreciated. Take it down, Glory. This is classic info. So according to John Lasseter and Andrew Stanton, who were the director and co-director of Bug's Life, said that A Bug's Life was the hardest movie, but the funnest movie they'd ever worked on. The hard part was mostly due to how big the story was. And according to Darla K. Anderson, it was a cast of thousands and was actually the very first computer animated widescreen film.
Oh yeah, and it was also an organic-based setting. Pretty much, all of the research was at the reach of their very own backyard. They couldn't believe how many things in nature were translucent, but this meant they would have to animate it the same way.
Hey, wait a minute now. Why are you getting all involved?
It's my job. We do it all the time.
Oh, yeah. I guess you have a point. But you'll have to be the one to eat the grasshopper now.
Who said something about eating a grasshopper?
Ay. Anyway, John Lasseter and the rest of the crew that worked on A Bug's Life said their second movie was comparable to an artist who's preparing to release their second album, hoping that their first album, aka Toy Story, would not be their one-hit wonder. One of the producers said to John that they could not technologically do crowd shots with more than 50 ants in them. And they asked John if he could still do the movie around this limitation. John was willing to accept it, but he felt in his heart that they could do a lot better. And that they did, because John helped to formulate a crowd team, and through new technological advancements, Pixar artists were able to transform the original crowd shots successfully. But to my audience, can you guess how many crowd shots the artists were able to transform? Oh yeah. Huh? Yeah. All right. If you guess some strange number like 50 original crowd shots transformed into 431, then you're the winner! You get to watch the rest of this awesome video. Anyway, This accomplishment brought an epic amount of miniature portions to the screen. Pixar was actually able to break through the second film syndrome and become the highest grossing animated film of 1998.
Wow, that's actually impressive. But what were the other animated films that were released that year?
That's a good question. I think our audience might know the answer to this.
I don't think they want to know the... answer. Oh, Lord. Oh, all right.
So, final answers.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, time's up. So the answers are Prince of Egypt, Mulan, the Rugrats movie, Quest for Camelot, whatever that is, and finally, their analogous competitor, Ants.
You are so extra.
Extra spicy, just like a likey.
Corny.
Anyway, sis, I also personally would like to take a moment to appreciate the attention to detail of this film and how beautiful it is. And I can't lie, there were a few animated scenes that just didn't live up to par with the rest of the beautiful animation of this film. For instance, like the rain scene, when Hopper tries to chase after Princess Ada and Flick, well, the animation just didn't look completely rendered. I mean, they have certainly, without a doubt, improved their water rendering since then, but I can't help but cringe a little during this scene.
You're not lying about that, but you gotta respect the hustle of the early days.
True.
Anyway, it is absolutely impressive how they were able to animate everything, almost as close to how they saw it. And might I add, it was very brilliant to have been able to succeed this during the early development of 3D animation. But it wasn't just the animation that impressed me. I mean, it was also the additional physical gestures of the characters. You know, like the natural human-like attributes some of the bugs and the ants would do. But you know what completely stole the show for me? Was when Slim was up in the air flying to Ant Island. To bypass time, he does this hand-flying gesture thing in the wind. Oh, and also when Dot and the other blueberries present their presentation to the so-called warrior bugs, you can see a few of the small ants fidgeting around, and you can even catch Dot playing around with her eyes, just like small kids do. These small details exemplify how much effort Pixar truly put into this movie. And not to mention, this is easily one of Pixar's funniest films in their franchise. And I also have to give the late Joe Ranft appreciation for his hilarious performance as Heimlich.
Much respect to Joe.
Much respect.
But, you know, this does remind me of another movie.
I think I know the one. Is it Ants?
No, don't be so predictable.
Well, okay, then what?
Zootopia?
Oh,
Because of the allegory.
Oh, I think I see where you're going with this.
You feel me? Now, many critics have mentioned how much of an allegorical message Zootopia had, and this honestly is no different for A Bug's Life. Zootopia definitely carried a don't judge a book by its cover type of message, and due to social media being more accessible for the youth in 2016, it may have caused the reception for this movie to be received a lot better as compared to the 1998 release of A Bug's Life. But the difference between the messages of Zootopia and A Bug's Life is in Zootopia, all of the animals did was judge the other before getting to know them. They based all of their preconceived notions on their biology. But in A Bug's Life, while there is still judgment in comparison to the size of the grasshopper versus the ant, Hopper is completely aware that him and the other grasshoppers are outnumbered in comparison to the ant colony. And while in no way is the depiction of prejudices shown in this movie compared to the heavy aggressive history of prejudices of this country, I can't help but notice the obvious anti-colonial analogy used in this film. Hopper, with his colonizing mindset, used the old classic bullying methods on the ants. Manipulate, intimidate, and use threats to demand what you want from your predators.
Great insight.
I did do pretty good, huh?
I wouldn't pull out a Nobel Peace Prize, per se, but it wasn't so bad.
Oh, a certified hater.
Anyway, so if we start from the beginning of the movie, we see a colony of ants picking grain and fruit for the offering. This offering is for Hopper and his gang. These grasshoppers demand that the ants pick their grain every summer. As the queen of the ant colony trains her daughter, Ada, to prepare to take over the queen's position, she tells Ada regarding the grasshoppers that they come, they eat, they leave. But what she says after sets the premise of the rest of the movie. She goes on to say, "That's our lot in life." Then tries to make light of it by joking, "It's not a lot, but it's our life." So this means that the queen and the rest of the colony are conditioned to believe that this is something that they're required to do for the rest of their lives. One of the ants, on the other hand, who is clumsy and untraditional, yet brave and creative and also innovative, is also picking the grain, but doing it in his own strange, weird, and I guess unique way.
Well, strange to the ants.
Basically not traditional.
Basically.
Flick, for some reason, is using an automatic sawing contraption thingy that he actually built himself. But the colony, as well as the authorities, they just don't get it. They find Flick to be troubling and kind of annoying because he likes to do things his own way. He's an inventor with good intentions, but not always the best outcome, at least not to the colony's expectations. As many of you know, the whole point of a colony is to stick together. And of course, this is something we usually see with ants, like the ones that pay a visit to your house every summer rent-free.
They break in, but boy, do they stick together.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing. Just got tired of standing up. Just continue. Don't look at me like that, child. Go and finish your little speech.
Anyway, so as I was saying about Flick is that one ant that does have loyalty to his colony, but feels that his way may work better, like a lot better. And of course, we see this play out throughout the entire film, like the bird.
Of birds.
Birds. The bird.
A bird!
Bird, it's a bird!
But we'll talk more about that later. Flick does represent something that stands out from the rest of his colony, and that is his stance on individualism. Whether it's intentional or not, it's something that obviously stands out. Which, by the way, is another scenario of allegory like Tim mentioned earlier. Individualism represents the citizen who is politically independent. While Flick is loyal to his colony, he wants to make a difference by coming up with a better solution that will benefit the colony.
Yeah, but hey, do you remember what happened back at the anthill? When they got the alert that Hopper and his gang were back to pick up the grain offering?
Oh yeah, I remember. And welcome back, by the way.
I didn't go anywhere, girl. I just sat down for a minute. But anyway, Flick was behind, like way behind. And he's in a panic too. He ends up throwing his entire contraption on the offering and, well, as you all know, the worst happens. All of the hard work of the colony goes to waste. The whole entire offering falls into the lake, down to the last grain, way below the anthill, and is completely unretrievable. Now Flick is in a panic as he tries to warn the rest of the colony that the offering fell, but it was too late, because right before you know it, boom! Hopper and his gang aggressively and carelessly stomp their big grasshopper feet through the anthill, angrily reacting to their offering not being there. Hopper tries to intimidate them all, mainly addressing Princess Ada due to her training for the queen position. He wants to remind the queen and Princess Ada who's the real boss around here, and that he was the one in control, because truth be told, if the queen did not fear Hopper, the colony would not fear Hopper. One of the things Hopper and his gang had been manipulating the ant colony on was that if they don't hold their end of the bargain, which is picking the grain, Hopper and his gang would not protect the ants from the so-called dangerous bugs out there.
And what bugs might those be? Hopper and his gang seem like they're the only bugs in mess with.
I don't know, maybe bees, wasps? I don't think Hopper and his gang could stand a chance against those wasps, though.
Yeah, 'cause don't wasps eat grasshoppers?
Yeah, but let's take that down, because that look a little funny. Lord.
Yeah, but Hopper is just a typical bully because he then tries to use Thumper to try to scare Dot.
I don't know, maybe he thought Dot was intimidating?
Haha, typical bully behavior. But not even the queen or Princess Ada stepped up to protect her due to fear.
They could have at least tried. I mean, that is their kid.
I guess we see who they wouldn't take a bullet for.
Yikes. But there is one ant that stood out and defended Dot against Hopper by simply saying, "Leave her alone." Those words caught Hopper off guard, but it wasn't so much what he said. I mean, the words are very simple. What really stood out to Hopper was that an ant got out of line. Basically, he got out of his place. And as a result of this, Hopper would double the workload, and of course, this angers the whole ant colony.
During the courtroom scene, Flick suggests fighting warrior bugs to fight Hopper and his gang. Initially, they think it's just another one of Flick's horrible ideas. But the jury actually does decide that it's a good idea after all. Because, if Flick is gone, he won't be able to mess anything up. And they could finally get rid of him. But of course, to the colony's surprise, Flick actually does end up coming back with warrior bugs. Well, at least to their knowledge, because they're actually clown bugs, which the colony find out about later. Coincidentally, the clown bugs think that Flick is just a talent scout looking to book talent, which Flick has no idea of. But because it's nearly impossible to build the offering back up in such a short amount of time, the ants do actually realize that they do need a miracle. And to the princess and the ant colony's surprise, they saw their miracle when Flick returned back with the so-called warrior bugs.
This is where we fight!
However, the only one who is still doubtful of Flick at this point is Princess Ada. Later on, the colony ends up throwing who they think are warrior bugs a ceremony in honor of them. But a little later on in the ceremony, the clown bugs found out what they were actually there for. This causes them to pull Flick aside to tell him that there's been a mix-up. Flick, of course, is in utter shock and disbelief himself, because this is the moment he realizes he's made yet another screw-up.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So this causes the clown bugs to leave, but Flick, not knowing what to do at that moment, just begged them to stay. He ends up grabbing onto Slim as they try to fly away, holding onto
The Stick Man!
And Flick, he won't let go. So they try to land on the ground, remove him. But while this happens, Flick suddenly sees the bird nest and books it like a manager asking you to work a double shift. The clown bugs shortly realize there's a bird and run as well. Meanwhile, the curious dot gets curious about what's going on and ends up using a dandelion stem to try to fly away.
Oh, just like the one Flick used earlier to find the warrior bugs.
Exactly.
But this does not work out for Dot because that bird that Flick and the other bugs were afraid of earlier eventually sees her and basically sees dinner. Oh, but she's not giving up. She's not about to be this bird's takeout. In her head, she's probably like, go eat that worm over there, you stupid bird. So anyway, she realizes she has no choice but to follow to avoid being unalived. Oh, but don't worry. Princess Ada and the Queen are on their way to rescue their girl.
Oh my God! Oh jeez! Oh my God!
No, never mind. But, fortunately for Dot though, Francis sees her and catches her. But now they're both under the rock, trying to avoid this stupid bird. The clown bugs and Flick all work together as a team to try to rescue Dot and Francis. All the while, the ant colony is witnessing the whole thing, thinking the clown bugs are just working as warrior bugs. And you know what? After all, they actually end up being successful with their spontaneous mission. Oh, but suddenly, the clown bugs hear something they haven't heard in a long time, and applause! Because, you know, they kind of suck as clowns. But regardless of the intent behind the applause, it did not matter to those bugs because it felt good to hear it again.
Oh, and shockingly, Princess Ada, who has underestimated Flick so many times, finally gives him kudos about how brave he was to face the bird.
Maybe next time you will estimate me.
But it catches Flick off guard when she says that even Hopper is afraid of birds. Of course, this immediately lights a bulb in Flick's head, and it instantly gives Flick a plan that could keep the clown bugs there and hopefully continue to just pretend to be warrior bugs. But these clowns want nothing to do with Flick's crazy idea. Because they're clowns, not warriors, for heaven's sakes. But what entices them to change their mind is when the small ants from the Blueberry Scout come in and ask the warrior bugs for their autograph. And the entertainer in them just lights on fire and makes them want to keep giving their fans what they want. So the clowns go ahead and listen to Flick's plan about building a fake bird. That way they could give this presentation to the colony as if it was their idea and not Flick's.
We noticed that back at Hopper's Island, none of those grasshoppers actually want to go back to Ant Island. Why? Because of the rain. And they all know that Hopper doesn't even like rain. So why the heck does Hopper even want to go? Because he remembered that one ant. That one ant that stood up to him, and that bully inside of him refuses to let up. So when he gets word that those grasshoppers just want to stay and get drunk off of grain, he decides to give them an analogy. Using grain, by the way. This scene was so prevalent in a bug's life that it actually went viral on TikTok. And Hopper's daunting speech given to the grasshoppers explains, one grain may not hurt us, but what about hundreds? Because those puny little ants outnumber them 100 to 1. And if they ever find that out, there goes their way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. And that is why they're going back.
But before the grasshoppers get there, the ants get a false alarm by none other than the circus bug boss himself, Pete. Because, as it turns out, that flaming death routine they did before they got fired was actually a hit. And this boss wants to hire his employees back.
You're working for me.
But of course, this blows the warrior bugs cover, and those ants aren't happy, let me tell you. They're all defeated and whatnot, like, oh man, we gotta go back to picking grain. I just want to enjoy the rest of my summer. But Flick is over here trying to convince them that the bird idea will actually work. But they're all like, boo, butt crap, hang him up by his antennas. Just joking. But anyway, Princess Ada is not having it. Neither is her mom. They both kicked those bozo clown bugs out of their island. But not just those bugs, Flick too. And then Flick is of course all sad, so he leaves with the circus bugs. I don't know, maybe they'll give him a job passing out popcorn. Anyway, those ants knew Hopper and his gang were coming back, and they just had no other choice but to go back to picking that grain. But before you know it, Hopper and his gang finally make it back to Ant Island, and Hopper is pissed at how low the amount of that nasty grain was. He's all like, I'm grain intolerant. How dare you make this so small, you stupid puny ants.
But when word got out that Hopper wanted to squish the queen, poor Dot was like, oh heck no, they're not going to squish my mom. So she goes to try to get Flick.
Kudos to Dot for actually trying to protect her family, because we know we didn't do it earlier. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
They can learn a few things from little Dot, because Dot even manages to escape from Thumper, because as it turns out, she's actually able to finally use her wings. So when Dot finally catches up to Flick and the circus bugs, she informs them that Hopper is going to squish her mom. And they're all like, I know, how about using that fake bird? Yeah, that's a good idea. And Flick is all like, nah, ain't no way I'm going back there. So then Dot brings back a seed. Is like, yeah, excuse me, let me put that right over there. Hey, do you remember that rock that you said was a seed earlier? And Flick looks at it and is like,
Okay, I guess we'll go back.
Hey, what's with the rock? Must be an ant thing.
But all jokes aside, the metaphor of this analogy represents learning how to trust the process, also valuing the nature of its transformation. Flick was initially giving this metaphor for Dot because Dot did not initially trust the process of when it would be time for her to use her wings. But little did Flick know that this analogy was for him too. You see, the traditional structure of the colony represented the seed that needed to grow, and Flick would be the one element that would help the colony grow into the strong tree they needed it to be. So, when they finally get there, Flick and the Blueberries prepare to go along with the bird plan like they had originally planned before. And while all this is going on, the circus bugs create magic tricks to hide the queen.
But after this, Hopper demands to know where she is. But before it gets really intense between him and the ant colony, the bird that Flick and the Blueberries are in fly right past them. And of course, like Princess Ada said earlier about Hopper being afraid of birds, Hopper was in fact afraid of this bird. So the circus bugs pretend to panic. Then the ant colony is joined in like, we ain't got nothing to lose, so let's run around too. I mean, they're even pretending to be impaired with fake blood busting out of their little bug guts with berry juice. Ugh. And while Flick's plan seems to initially be working, unfortunately, they steer the wrong gear and knock over the circus train that Pete is tied up in. But of course, being that Pete has no idea of the plan behind the bird, he thinks he's saving the day by lighting the bird on fire. So the jig is finally up. Hopper finds out about the plan and demands to know whose idea it was.
Then Flick was like, forget this, I had it up to here with this bunny rabbit bug. And he boldly jumps out of the bird and told Hopper straight up that it was his idea. Then Hopper sends for Thumper to jump Flick, because I guess he didn't want to do it himself. But anyway, Thumper ends up beating the buzzards out of him. But Hopper then stops the beating to question Flick's bizarre intrepidity when he feels his authority is being tested. Flick then exclaims that Hopper was going to execute the queen. To further intimidate Flick and the rest of the ant colony, Hopper, who's settling a superior mark between he and the ants, expresses demeaning retorts like an ant being lower than dirt.
And only put on this earth to serve grasshoppers.
Hopper proceeds to give the ant colony a manipulative monologue by saying that, quote-unquote, ideas are a very dangerous thing. The concept to which Hopper uses the word ideas actually represents his indirect fear that the colony will use these quote-unquote ideas for escapism or maybe even revenge, i.e. the bird. This concept is similar to the oppressors being afraid that the oppressed will do to them what they have done to the oppressed. Hopper goes on to say to the ants, "You are mindless, soil-shoving losers, put on this earth to serve us." But Flick, who was still in pain, manages to take a stand and tells Hopper that he was wrong and that ants were not meant to serve grasshoppers. I've seen these ants do great things, and year after year, they somehow manage to pick food for themselves and you. So who is the weaker species? Ants don't serve grasshoppers. It's you who needs us.
Come on, somebody.
The ant colony finally gets the guts to attack Hopper and his gang. And wouldn't you know it, it causes those scary grasshoppers to fly away. And wouldn't you also know it, they left their so-called leader Hopper behind. The bugs and ants finally get a hold of Hopper and place him in a cannon. But right before they launch, the rain comes down. That same rain the grasshoppers were trying to avoid. But Hopper is not willing to give up. So he repositions himself to where Dim is about to fall, so he can grab Flick. After he grabs him, immediately the clown bugs follow to try to rescue him, but they're unsuccessful. However, Princess Ada was able to snatch Flick back.
Finally! The princess is actually showing some leadership around here. Because, after all, Flick is a part of the colony too. Just because one ant gets out of line, you don't just leave him behind.
Exactly. But getting back to Flick and Ada, Flick, who is still being held by Princess Ada, comes up with a plan and leads Princess Ada to the bird nest. But then another bird shows up, only this time it's the real bird. But Hopper just thinks it's another stunt. Oh, but he quickly finds out what it actually is, a real bird, and then he becomes...
Yeesh, that was dark. So, later on, when the ants celebrate their victory, they go back to picking grain. But this time, they're picking it for themselves. And not only that, they're using Flick's weird, strange, but unique grain sawing contraption to pick the grain. The ants send the clown bugs off with well wishes, with even a few of the ants joining them on their circus act tour. Because, they need a job passing out popcorn. But before they leave, they remember Heimlich is still metamorphosing in his cocoon. When Heimlich is fully done being baked, Heimlich comes out with wings and is about ready to fly away with the rest of the circus bugs.
Fly away? His body is way larger than those tiny wings. Traditionally, butterfly wings are way larger than their body.
I know, but he earned those little wings.
True. In fact, he was so excited that he even was a little cocky as he flew away, saying, "But I am flying, and from up here you all look like little ants."
Hey, good impression.
Thanks. I tried to do Joe proud.
Anyway, while that was intended to be humorous, this stage of the movie perhaps represented the seed-to-tree metaphor very well. Because, like Heimlich, they had to trust the process and went from mentally thinking small-minded to eventually growing into the strong-willed colony they needed to be. Many of Pixar movies have had strong messages throughout the years, whether it's about being rivals to becoming friends in Toy Story, or overcoming the fear of letting go in Finding Nemo, or acknowledging your unique gifts and talents in The Incredibles. But A Bug's Life, in my opinion, is one of the strongest messages of the Pixar franchise.
Well, sis, I'm not sure if this video will get us in A Bug's Life Part 2, but it definitely reminded me that it's one of the best of Pixar's movies ever.
Hey, totally agree. So audience, leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more classic info videos like this one. Until next time.
The traditional structure of the